As rioting and looting continues in cities across America, the mainstream media is sticking with their narrative that President Trump and his supporters are to blame for the violence. Watch what CNN contributor April Ryan had to say.
People are now afraid of this president because he has stoked the racial flames. And let's call the thing a thing. He has now begun a race war in America in 2020.
To break this down, joining us now is Steve Krauker, founder and editor of Fourth Watch. Hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be back.
Hey, Steve, this thing has evolved, hasn't it? I mean, it started as these are all peaceful protesters. Everyone has a right to do that. Nothing to see here, even as flames and buildings are being blown up behind reporters. And then it's gone to Trump's responsible to it, to now people like April Ryan, who is technically a White House correspondent, saying that Trump has started a race war. I think the media has really gotten out of control in terms of where this has gone, where this has escalated from just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it seems like something majorly shifted in the coverage of it, in the tone of it, of the coverage, I think, in the last week. I think Kenosha certainly played a factor in that. And from everything that we've seen and heard, the reporting is that Kenosha has affected the polls. And so it can no longer be an issue that the Democrats or the media can ignore or pretend is not happening. And now they've got to cover it. And when they cover it, it goes into, well, how is this Trump's fault? Which is a strange way of going about it, I would say. It certainly is. Putting April Ryan aside, it's hard to put any specific accountability on any one person here. I think that is going far to the extreme and is really doing a disservice to the reality of the situation on the ground in cities across America. I mean, it's Seattle, Portland, Kenosha, all across the board. The media is now taking a much greater interest in the violence, and now they're trying to assess blame and blaming it on Trump.
Well, blame and responsibility is something that I want to ask you about, Steve. Clearly, it's not just April Ryan. It's a lot of people out there in the media. In fact, I think we have a soundbite from Joy Reid where she really goes after Trump about the violence. Can we play that?
Who benefits if lots of white voters believe that Black Lives Matter is threatening and violent? No one more than Donald Trump. Trump is losing to Joe Biden. Full stop. So to sneak back in through the Electoral College, he needs to win back those American Brexit states that put him over the top in 2016.
So, Steve, in that, Joy Reid was kind of blaming Trump, suggesting that he's using this for re-election purposes. But we're hearing, when we played the soundbite yesterday in our show, but that there's a lot of violent rhetoric in the media itself. So when people see this on TV, and that's the kind of messaging they're seeing, Steve, how culpable is the media itself and personalities on TV for the violence across the country that we're seeing?
Yeah, look, I think that there is. It's a great example of the sort of bad faith arguments that are happening within the media, particularly on the left. I look at something like, look, I don't think that there's a lot of people who are saying that peaceful protesters are causing violence, are rioting, are looting. That's not what people are saying. And actually the people that I believe are most associating these two disparate groups are actually the media themselves, when they don't make a clear distinction between those forces like Antifa, those forces like certain rioters who are really have no real point of view other than just kind of destruction and looting, and trying to connect them to legitimate peaceful protesters. That's actually happening on the media side, and it's just simply a bad faith argument to say that what Trump is saying is that all Black Lives Matter protesters are the ones who are rioting and looting. No, we're talking about Antifa. We're talking about far left extreme fringe organizations that are actually causing this, but at the same time are certainly not white nationalist organizations on the other end either.
Steve, keeping with Joy Reid's show for a second, let me play you a clip from Tiffany Cross, who co-hosted the show the other day.
I watched the Republican convention, and seeing the slew of Black speakers that they had, it really did look like a modern-day minstrel show to me.
Steve, the thing that I find fascinating is there's a lot. I mean, each convention, the Democrats did their job of putting their issues and their people out front to convey a message. The Republicans did that too. The media seems so fascinated and almost upset about how well the Republicans did putting out people who supported Trump. We saw that the other day with Vernon Jones on Craig Melvin's show, where he asked him if he had been paid. There is this visceral reaction to how the Republicans are trying to present a side to them that a lot of folks in the media don't like. And so therefore they react in the way that Tiffany just did.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look at someone like Alice Johnson, for example, who spoke at the RNC, who has been, been very outspoken in support of Donald Trump, who was freed through the First Step Act and later had her sentence commuted from Donald Trump. I think it's very hard to sort of put her in a box that the media would like to. And I actually think her story is particularly resonant with the average American, of any, race or ethnicity. So I think that's what we're seeing a pushback against, is that there are certain speakers who are really resonating with the average American voter, and it's hard to square with this preconceived idea of kind of the caricature of Donald Trump and honestly of Donald Trump supporters, even more so.
That's
they're
it,
trying
right?
to
But what you just said is exactly right. It's the caricature that they're fighting back against. As a Republican, I actually thought the message was great. I thought the people were great. But I'm with them. I think this is interesting. You're absolutely right. The character is what they had a problem with, and they wanted to push back because they don't agree with it. Well, Steve, I wish we had more. I wish we had more time. Thank you for being here. Look forward to having you back again soon.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Coming up is not just the liberal media suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. We'll show you a tape of a sitting U.S. senator who has accused the president of deliberately killing people. Where's the outrage about that comment? We'll ask our company next.